Hello out there in podcast land. It is the return of the Bohemian Cauldron. I am Dale Bruning with Teeth and Claw Tarot Works and also a nice friendly reader at Alchemy, and I use the term friendly loosely. And with me today I have the proprietor of said establishment, Marsha Hahn, and Courtney Gonzalez, who also happens to work up there too. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
So this is kind of a reboot, and because it is kind of a reboot, we're gonna go ahead and give us each a few minutes to get a nice little introduction on how we got started on where we are. So, does anybody want to volunteer to go first? Huh?
Okay, I'll go first. Okay, so I've always had gifts, if you will. When I was a little girl, we lived on this huge piece of land in Illinois, and there were different rundown houses around us. And my mom would always tell me there were witches inside to stay in and to stay out of it.
Stay away from it, and of course.
Yeah, my grandma's.
Do?
Of course, I walked inside, and it's like I could feel my mood shift, it would happen to me a lot, like when I was a little kid, and I wouldn't understand why it was happening. It's like, why all of a sudden do I feel sad? Why all of a sudden do I feel this? In my mind, I wouldn't understand why my moods would shift like that. And then, stuff was kind of low level. I was always good at feeling people out, things like that. But as I got a little older, it was like I didn't want my gifts. I would run from them and do anything I could to not see things on levels that I was supposed to, like hindrance, suppression, fear, trauma, all those things that affect people, that weigh upon their soul and creates all other chaos. And it made me kind of afraid of what I would see and feel from people before I could control it and have it harnessed in. But as I got older, it just started to open more and more, and I finally accepted, what I can do and the different array of gifts, and to try to rein them in somehow, to have control the chaos of everything that comes at me, because it's like I'm a beacon. It's like everything comes at me, so it's like pulled in all these directions. Like you need your head on a swivel at all times. So, but as I got older, and then I started to embrace my gifts and really delve into them with different types of divination and things like that. So, and it's just as I've, done more and more of the divination and practice and the things that I've learned and all the knowledge that I'm constantly, pretty much ravenous for, it has really helped hone my gifts in. And, it's like I'm the eye of the storm now, instead of being in the tornadic energy of everything else that you're sensitive to. And now it's wonderful.
So what is it exactly that you do?
I do all types of things. I pretty much have all types of empathy, all the clairs, like psychic surgery with my selenite wands. When I pull cords off people, work on people, I'll feel, it's like I mirror them. When I do readings for people, I'll sometimes mirror their health issues. Blood pressure, person has blood pressure issues, my ears are on fire. I'll be like, and I've told different people and friends the stuff that I pick up on that's going on in their body. And let's see what else. It's easier probably to say what I can't do is probably I can't see auras. What else? I don't have telekinesis, sadly, yet.
Aw.
I know. What is it called when is it tele? You can set stuff on fire with your mind.
Pyromancy.
Yeah. Yes.
Or pyrokinesis.
Yes.
That would be an interesting thing to have.
Yes, fire starter in the house. Well, as long as you can control your temper, but it's just I incorporate different. I don't know if I'll ever earn the title of shamana, but it's the different shamanic aspects of working on people and using those energetics whenever I'm helping, remove things that people are ready to be rid of and all those cords, and they want to go delve into the shadow work and release trauma and pain, and I can help remove those things from them as well.
That is particularly cool. It's a particularly cool skill set as well. Miss Marshall, would you like to let us know what it is you do? What is it you do?
Where did it all start? Well, it started out when I was, I don't know, 3 or 4 years old. My family lived in Herculaneum, and it was on Circle Street. And a block away, there was a Methodist church up on the hill from our house. And there was a lot of strange things that, let's just say, that went on in that house. And that's a whole nother story. It will do some other time. But I think that's what started my fascination with the other world. What we can't see in this dimension does sometimes cross over. It's kind of a blurred, liminal space at times for, I think, each one of us. But it started for me when I was very young in that house, 3 or 4 years old. And I think the house and where it was located and probably what was underneath it, because I'm sure that area is full of mines and tunnels and hard telling. But I think there was a few other things there. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
And anyway, so the strange energy and vibe that was there at that house kind of sparked my interest at a very early age for the occult, esoteric, who, where, what is God, and who we are, and where do we come from, and where do we go when we're done with this flesh sack, as I like to call it. As soon as I was old enough to read, well, my grandmother started me reading. I learned how to read out of the book Grimm's Fairy Tales. And so my grandmother, that's what she used to read to me as I was learning to read, 4 or 5 years old. And so, some of that's kind of, I do kind of have a dark humor and at times, and I think that's probably why was because of my grandmother. And she was quite the character, but she was always reading to me from Andersen fairy tales, Grimm's fairy tales. She was just a really interesting lady, but that kind of also, I think, shaped my psyche in a lot of different ways. And then, and I loved to be scared when I was a little girl. She would tell me the awfulest, scary,
Me too.
Yeah,
I did. I loved that stuff.
She would, she would scare me intentionally because she knew I liked it. And we would giggle and run in the house because she had a carport. She lived in Paducah, Kentucky, and she had a carport. And every evening we would go out there before bed, and she'd smoke her cigarette and let the dogs out. She had 2 little poodles, and tell me, all kinds of scary stories from when she was a kid. And then we would hear stuff, up in the woods behind the house. There was a line of great big evergreens or pine, I can't remember which, but great big trees back there. And oh man, by the time we got ready to go in, we were seeing stuff, so that was always fun. And so I never really had a fear of, I kind of liked it. I never really had a fear of things that go bump in the night. And as long as they weren't, I guess of this world.
Right.
But anyway, so let's see, fast forward a little bit. So as soon as I was raised basically Southern Baptist. As soon as I was old enough to get a Bible, Mom and Dad gave me one, and there was pictures in it, and there were pictures of Egypt, the pyramids, different things like that, and I thought it was all beautiful. So the stories that went along with that in the Bible kind of made me even more curious. Mm-hmm. So as much as I loved God and the way I was being taught that and who he was in the Southern Baptist scheme of things, I it opened my eyes up to different cultures and world religions. So so as soon as I was old enough to really pay attention in church and crack that Bible, then that led into other cultures, other beliefs, a lot of other things. So then, of course, in school, you can go to the library and check out all kinds of interesting things at your school library, back then, and at the, city libraries, that kind of thing, because kids don't have a lot of money to spend on books. So, and then I'd buy a lot of used books at the Peabody Flea Market. And from there, it's just always been I've never not had that interest or curiosity. It's just always been who I am. So by the time I was, I guess, in my early 20s, I found a series of books by Lynn Andrews, and she was a shamanic practitioner. I think probably her books would be, they were probably written under like fantasy or something like that. But a lot of things that I saw that she had wrote or had talked about on different things, she said she had to kind of write under that premise that it was fantasy, but it was real. And what she wrote in her books were what she experienced. So, and there's a lot of Native American culture in those books, and I was always drawn to that anyway. And because I was born here in the United States, in America, and I think, sometimes you feel who was here before, I think, and you either learn to respect it and love it, or you ignore it, and don't pay any attention to it. But I always loved that sort of thing. So that's what started a lot of it in my adulthood. And I always had really lucid dreams, very, very vivid dreams. And as a child, it was natural for me just to automatically know that I was in a dream. And then if I didn't like the dream I was in, I could just put my arms out to my side like I was flying. And I would say 1, 2, 3.
Wow,
and
that's
I
amazing.
would go straight up, and I'd fly until I saw something else that looked interesting, and I would land in that dream.
Wow.
So it was just, and I have no idea where that came from. No one taught it to me. It was just a natural thing I always did. Now, as I got older, it became harder and harder for me to do that. And the more grounded you get, the more roots I think you put down. And because of the culture and society that I lived in, it did ground me. So whether I wanted to be grounded or not, it did ground me in my dreams. So I can't fly anymore, and I think that's it's just because of where I was born, how I was raised, and the culture I live in today. But if I had more time, I think it's something I could readily learn again. But life takes over. So, and maybe I do it, and I just don't remember it.
You should practice that.
Yeah.
You've had that gift in so many lives, so you already know. It's just life has hindered it.
Yeah.
It's made you
stress and just life takes over.
It's there, girl.
So I always called it dream walking.
Yes,
instead of sleepwalking. And I still can do some of that, but not to the degree, not to the control that I had as a child. It was unbelievable when I look back some of the things I could do in dreams. And I think a lot of it is too, I just do not remember what I used to be able to remember. And I'm in my 50s now, and things change. So you have more responsibilities, and the weight of those weigh you down. I think even in your dreamscape.
Magic too, it can cause some level of hindrance.
So, but that's what really where I started. I was always talented in that part of my, I guess you could call that another dimension. And then I just became more and more, I wanted to read and soak up everything like a sponge. Even things that I would never even have contemplated doing myself. I wanted to know about it. I wanted to learn about it. I found other cultures, religions, spirituality extremely interesting, and I was so curious. I still am. I don't read quite as much as I used to, just because I hate to say this, but so much of it now, it melds together in my mind as I read it, and it seems like a rehash of so much that I've already read and studied. And so now I think it's, the last couple of years, I think have been a time that I've kind of created my own way of doing things, my own magical practice, my own, I call myself an art witch, because I find a lot of, therapy for one in art. And I find a lot of powerful healing. I think if more people would not be so self-conscious and open up to different forms of art that they could create themselves, and it doesn't matter if anybody ever sees it, but just their own personal outlet. There's a lot of things that we need to heal from, a lot of different traumas and heartbreaks, and maybe even past life traumas that you can heal from just doing art, just whatever comes to mind. So I am extensively, I love the tarot. That's something I've been studying for quite a while. I don't do readings too much yet, but we'll see. I'm really too busy in my other business endeavors at this point to really, I feel like, give people the time and focus that they need during readings and that kind of thing. And we have plenty of readers at Alchemy, Dale and Courtney and Rodella and Jennifer. And then we have guest readers there. So, and I like to look at the tarot as, I like all the different archetypes, and I like young psychology and that type of thing. So I like how it helps us see our lives from different perspectives. I love candle magic and poppets and fetishes and talismans, and I've studied all of that. And the art and craft that goes behind making those items is beautiful, and the folklore and folk magic that goes with it. That's another form of art that people can do to help heal themselves. And so we'll be teaching classes on that in the near future. And Courtney does a class on protection, and it's a series of classes. I'll let her talk about that more later. And so anyway.
Yeah. Bravo. Well, that is a nice little extensive history there. All right, well, I guess it is my turn. I guess how I differ is I'm just a city boy. Born and raised in South St. Louis until 18. Spent my early childhood in the Soulard area, and lived in a rectory, of all things. I lived in a church rectory at 9th and some other cross street, and moved from there to what is Dutchtown in South St. Louis, State Streets area, and moved directly into a haunted house. And everybody in the neighborhood knew it was haunted, and it made it difficult to have people come over. But I guess what really tilted me towards the esoteric arts is quite literally the satanic panic of the 80s. I wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I wanted to investigate all sorts of weird noises I heard around the house. And I was told no, but being the Aquarius that I am, once you tell me no, I'm going to want to do it more. And so I just, as soon as I was let out of the house to do my own thing at the tender age of around 10 and 11, I started, having people drop me off at the library where I just stood in the small section of books that were, occult philosophy, and read all of those, and then requested more from other libraries throughout St. Louis. Once I found an actual little shop, an occult supply shop, I went there, and I would scrape together whatever money I could earn and buy a book and then hide it from my parents. And yes, I'm going to call out my parents. They were not happy with the things that I wanted to investigate and I wanted to deal with, and tried whenever they found one of my books, they would hide it or throw it away. It really wasn't until 4 or 5 years ago when I actually, legitimately started reading professionally that, they kind of came around. But I was actually fortunate in a few ways. And a lot of people would think that's not very fortunate at all, but I was put in Catholic schools most of my life, and I was fortunate enough, I say this because of those Catholic schools, I was able to find some priests and some teachers that really knew what they were talking about when it came to other aspects of the Catholic religion that a lot of people don't talk about, the exorcists and the occult nature of a lot of the rituals. And they would talk to me freely about this, and I was very fortunate in that way. At the age of 12, my grandmother handed me what I call is my first tarot deck with training wheels. It was a Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck that had the interpretations on it. It had the interpretations, and underneath the interpretation, it also had the reversal that was later taken away by a nun, never to be seen again. But that is my first venture into the realm. I was also later gifted runes, and I read runes for a very long time. I'm very out of practice at that, but my first quote unquote event was a high school function where I sat in the basement and it read runes for anybody who wanted, and I charged 50 cents per reading.
That's adorable.
It was for charity, but it was everything that I made $15, so that was a lot of reading.
Holy cow!
A lot of reading, but
those are tips in there,
right? Here's you a nickel.
That's yeah. And I just once I had my own income and I was able to do it, I spent just about all the time I had in various shops around the St. Louis city. There was, at the time, there were 2 within walking distance of my haunted house on Nebraska. Oh. There was, there was Seymour Specialties, which was on Cherokee and California. And then there was Papa Ligba's over on, it was on Gravois. It was on Gravois at the time. Gravois, right across the street from the Kmart. And if you're from South City, right? You know exactly where I'm talking about.
State Streets.
Yes. And while Seymour Specialty had a huge variety of books, and but they were very snobbish and would not give me the time of day, like other occult supply shops around the area. The people at Papa Legba's were more than happy to tell me what I was doing right and especially what I was doing wrong. And I learned a great deal from Papa Legba's. They had the best self-burning incense around. I to this day. The worst book section around, because they did not buy anything new. All their books were used what they found at yard sales, and they would pass the savings on to no one. I would buy them anyway, but
That's the savings on to no one. Oh my goodness.
From there, I just kept on studying. I just like anything I could get my hands on, and I'll admit my teachers were really few and far between. I had my grandmother who encouraged me, and the people at Papa Legbuzz until they weren't there anymore. So I'm pretty much self-taught. I grew very interested in Kabbalah around the age of 16, and when I asked for recommendations on books, a lot of people told me the traditional books. The book, The Garden of Pomegranates, The Middle Tower, The Middle Pillar, books like that, some Crowley, some, I can't think of many more, but reading those books, it was very clear that it was made to be unclear. It was people patting themselves on the back, and I just could not get behind it. What really turned things around for me, and I, preach this man to this day, is an author named Ted Andrews, who dabbled in anything and everything, but the biggest thing that really helped me was simplified magic, now called simplified Kabbalah magic. And that he wrote it so, people could understand it. And then his follow-up book to that, more simplified magic, pathworking, more simplified magic, was even better, because that is where I learned, how you could implement music into your magical practices and studies, and that really was an eye-opener, and I used that a lot in my tarot reading as well. And I always say, never trust a tarot reader that will not sing to you.
That will not sing to you.
Yes, because well,
I don't know if you want me to sing. Be afraid.
It's not about how well you sing. It's about the
Yes.
message and the
Yes.
harmonies, and
They would pay me to stop.
Yes. Oh, yes.
That's why God invented auto-tune. I don't know if you know this, but
Good idea.
let's see. And really, I just kind of read for myself and a few festivals here and there, and that is really where I came to know Marcia. We are part of a group, the Cryptic Mafia Society, which is an art group in there. I am not an artist. I don't know how I got to be in this group, but that is where I met Marcia and became fast friends with her.
Well, let's face it. What you do, Dale, is an art. I mean, it is a very old art.
No.
So you fit right in.
Well, thank you.
The cool kids.
No, I was never, ever, ever, ever a cool kid.
Well, you are now. So.
All right. Finally.
We made our own cool kid.
That's
That's right. This is
That's
our
what I
table.
tried doing, and that just always backfired on me. But, so yeah, now I read professionally under the, well, it depends actually. If you're on Instagram or if you're on Facebook, it's Teeth and Claw Tarot. But if you're on TikTok, it is the Tarot Misfit. And so yeah, I put out a daily reading and just odds and ends about tarot and Kabbalah and other forms of magic. Like Ted Andrews, I find myself being a dabbler in just anything that I can get my hands on that I think will help, I will try and I will do. From exorcisms to fairy magic to folk magic, ancestral magic, dragon magic. Oh, dragon magic.
He stole your heart.
Uh-huh. I love me some dragons. I still, from time to time, find myself at a festival or whatnot, but my home is at alchemy. And thank you, Marsha.
Thank you, Dale.
And tarot socials, okay, here and there, get thrown in the mix of running those.
Yes.
Explain a little bit about what the social is.
Oh yeah, the tarot socials. Well, we will sit around and we will go over various topics of the tarot. Right now, we're also in another reboot type session where we started at the Fool, and went all the way up to what are we at now?
I believe we didn't get through all 5 cards. The Devil is the last one that we got.
Yeah,
through.
so we're to the next
Are you
part.
at the Devil or are
we
you?
got the Devil.
Oh, you did the Devil.
Yes.
One of my favorites.
Capricorn.
Ooh, I think we can probably wrap this one up now.
Okay.
I'd like to thank you all for listening if you made it this far in. I mean, wow. Thank you very much. And then hoping next time we can come up with something good. So stay pretty out there.